With just 2 weeks remaining in the season, NASCAR returns to the Paperclip. We get you set for Martinsville Speedway with our best bets and DFS tiers. All this and more next on the Backroad.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checkered flag. That's all this race
What's good, everybody? Happy Thursday night to you all out there. Welcome to the Backroad. It's In Between Media's Fantasy NASCAR and NASCAR betting show. My name's Elliot Hicks. With me is Seth Woolcock. Happy Halloween, man. We're heading to the Paperclip.
Happy Halloween, Elliot. Great to be with y'all tonight. I love this time of year. The NASCAR playoffs have been super profitable for us here at IBT, and having all the sports that we cover rolling at once. It's kind of a lot, but the Equinox, if you would, has been absolutely awesome as well. Right now, I feel like you and I are both kind of in our busiest time of the year. I'm doing about 5 to 7 shows a week, but nothing beats Thursday nights here down the back road. So pretty pumped for Martinsville to be here with you tonight, Elliot.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Can't believe the season is almost over, but still plenty of money to be made. We will react to the weekend at Homestead, break down the Paperclip and the races at Martinsville Speedway. We'll give you our best bets as well as the DFS rankings to end the show and some exciting stuff over on our website regarding the DFS projections as we've been talking about, Seth.
Yeah, we're busy over there trying to make some new tools. The NASCAR DFS projections tool is our newest one, or it's our first one, and definitely working out some bugs over there as always with it. But hey, man, this has been a really sharp tool. It's helped me become a better NASCAR DFS player. Hopefully it is for you as well. So make sure you guys are checking out at inbetweenmedia.com. We also have a ton of content for you, whether you're into NASCAR betting, college football betting, NFL prop betting, whatever you're betting, entertainment betting. We got it all over there and here on the YouTube channel. And shout out to IVT family, Elliot, who's been locked and loaded since hours before we went live, man. Mark is saying first, hello, and then happy Halloween to everyone, asking who everyone's pick is for Martinsville. Yeah, let us know in the chat, guys. Who are you betting this weekend? We want to hear from you. Marcus is always picking C. Bell this weekend for him. Kush, he is on Byron and Larson Bell for the championship. Okay.
Don't hate it.
Stan, my gut telling me Denny gets it done on Sunday. Man, it's tough. I don't know how you bet Denny Hamlin this weekend. I'm excited to hear that from everyone. And then Chuck as well saying, happy Halloween, friends. Good to see you, Chuck. Thanks for tuning in, man. And then Stan saying, Seth and the gang still trick-or-treating. No trick-or-treating for us here. Just tying up some loose ends, Stan. But great to see you here. And Elliot, would you dress up or anything this year for Halloween?
No Halloween plans for me. Just dressing up as hopefully a good NASCAR bettor this weekend. Let's do that.
I like
that
it.
Could be my costume. Actually, money from bets.
I like it. I went to a Halloween party a couple weeks ago. It was an early one. Didn't really feel like getting too crazy with the costume, so Katie and I just went as NASCAR fans. I cut some jorts real short and had my cola ready to go. And yeah, it was awesome. If you ever need a cheap, easy costume idea, NASCAR fan, you can be as much of an asshole as you want.
Yeah, there you go. Drink as much beer as you want. And
yes.
Hey, we got the merch too after our trips to the track and JRM and all the little clearance racks we find too. Don't forget about those.
Yes,
and the Bud 8 merch that'll be coming too. I wasn't on but a couple weeks ago, but the Bud 8 being back, that's exciting. As I told Seth, my bank account's a little lighter now after that merch got pre-ordered. That'll be exciting. But you don't want to hear about the merch I buy. You guys want to hear about the bets we're making. Before we get to Martinsville, though, let's take a look back in the review at an exciting weekend we had at Homestead. So it was a triple header in the middle of the round of 8 for all 3 series. Kind of surprise winners in the 2 lower series. In the Truck Series, Grant Enfinger goes back-to-back with a team that really hasn't, they're building up teams. CR9 Motorsports, they hadn't won a race. They go win Talladega, a track that's kind of a great equalizer. But then getting a win at Homestead, that really means something. And Grant Enfinger showing that he will not be one to be messed with. He'll be a legit championship contender come Phoenix next week. In the Xfinity Series, super speedway specialist Austin Hill gets it done and clinches his spot in the championship four. And man, oh man, was the end of that, the whole Cup Series race, but the end of it especially, extraordinarily exciting. The wall riding master, Tyler Reddick, gets it done in one of the most exciting last laps in the damn near 20 years I've been watching NASCAR. Tyler Reddick in the 45 locks into the championship four in the Cup Series.
Yeah, man. I mean, NASCAR at Homestead is everything this sport should be. In all three series, specifically the Cup Series, though, these next gen cars race awesome on it. And that last lap was great, but that whole race was fun, man. Like seeing the strategies play out and seeing high tire wear on an intermediate track like that is always fun. And you had some surprises. You had Carson Hocevar racing up there in the top 10. We should have hammered AJ Allmendinger for a top 10 as well, because he had been 2 for 2 the last 2 years there, but it was just like almost too chalky, if that made sense. And but yeah, shout out Tyler Reddick for making that run stick. You don't always see those types of runs stick nowadays in the Cup Series. We saw him do something similar at Kansas earlier this year, and excuse me, I think it was Darlington ended up taking Chris Buescher out with him. So yeah, shout out Tyler Reddick and shout out Homestead. It just seems like an awesome track and one that's on my bucket list for sure, man.
No doubt about it. And I know that the championship race, which was at Homestead for so long, is heading back to Phoenix next year. But damn, man, that championship race needs to go back to Homestead. It's got to be in the rotation. It put on good racing for so long. And with that finish, that was already good enough just for the middle of the round of 8. Can you imagine that last lap for the Cup championship? Just how insane it would have been then. Just absolutely nuts. And with the strategies too, we had the late caution that kind of almost messed up the natural way of it. But for Reddick, it certainly helped because he was kind of fucked. And then he became unfucked, even though he had the pit stop, had a lap older tires, still made it work.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that team, they had to roll the dice, right? Like, that's kind of what, even Blaney and Hamlin, they had to win. So it was so exciting. And I think it's everything you want in a NASCAR playoff race. And we saw most of the top 8 or the remaining 8 in the playoffs racing up there for the lead most of the day. Even Kyle Larson had his issues. He dropped back. He came all the way back into this one. And really, besides Logano, who was just out to lunch, you really saw these teams gunning for it. And man, like this is why I love betting the playoffs too, is it gets a little more predictable here down towards the end, right?
Yeah, it really does. My between bets articles that run usually on Friday mornings on the site, they're becoming kind of predictable, but honest to God, they've worked. I've hit the winners in both of the round of 8 races in there as well. So keep a lookout for that in the morning. But yeah, literally all the playoff drivers bringing their best. It really showed the cream rising to the top, at least for the 7 that weren't already locked in.
Yeah, I mean, we had hit some hammer matchups last week in Xfinity. They had Austin Hill against William Sawalich. That was my favorite bet of the week. And
holy shit, that would have been mine too. That's crazy. Sawalich, a guy making his debut against the guy who ends up winning.
Yeah, so I wish I would have bet him for the outright, but I just hammered down on that matchup there. I had Denny over Chase, which was a little bit frustrating for most of that race. Honestly, Chase kind of came all of a sudden out of nowhere and had some speed for the first time in what felt like months. But Denny got that one done for us. We hit some big top 10 parlays as well. One on Byron, one on Hamlin. So yeah, I'm pumped up, man. It was a great race. And hey, the finger in the trucks. Holy shit, the finger. I mean, you and I both a couple months ago, right at the Olympic break, we both put championship bets on this guy. We've been riding him since, and I expected him to get to Phoenix. I didn't expect him to win 2 in a row, but that's kind of how the Truck Series has been, right? Like we saw at different times in the year, different guys get hot. Whether it was Corey Heim winning a couple, whether it was Eckes winning a couple, whether it was Lane Riggs pulling off 2 back-to-back. So yeah, shout out to the finger. That was awesome to see. I wasn't on really any truck bets at all, but it was great race to watch.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And like we said, being able to ride those title bets into Phoenix, I've got a few of those. I'm kind of looking for some general opinion, both from you and the chat as well, because I went through those this afternoon, doing my research, figured out what all I had. Obviously, Enfinger, I've got a couple of bets from him. I got him at 20 to 1 over on Bet365, 28 to 1 on Fanatics. They're offering me a cash out though on Bet365. It was, I think, a bonus bet that I threw down on it, so it's not any real money I'm out. If he does end up pulling off the upset, winning the title, it's an $80 win for me. But then they offer me a cash out of $8.93. I don't know how likely he is to beat the guys like Heim and Eckes there. I'm kind of considering taking this cash out, Seth.
Oh man. Oh man. You said you have two different ones placed, right?
Right. So I could cash out the lower number, get a guaranteed cash out, and then still have the ticket riding in a different book.
That's maybe what I
So
would do.
that might not be a bad
Honestly,
move.
we probably know there's going to be a shit ton of fuckus next week at Phoenix in that truck race. There always is. I mean, you don't have a Carson Hocevar
Yeah.
getting, being a
Well,
little baby like last
that's
year. And
that's the thing is the fuckus could help because the fuckus gave it to Ben Rhodes last year, who was not the
true,
best driver in that championship kind
true.
of took it away from Enfinger, who was in a better ride at the time too. So he's a motivated driver in that 9 truck.
Yeah, I don't blame you for taking a cash out there. And, I think worst comes to worst, you hold on to and you hedge yourself next week with Heim or Eckes or one of these other guys who get there and just hammer down on their outright.
Yeah, man, it's not a bad idea. In the Cup Series too, that Reddick win, I had a championship 4 bet for Reddick from all the way back pre-Daytona. That's cash now. It was only a plus 325. Only put a sprinkle on it, but it's nice to have that one. And also from the summertime, I have a title bet on him at 12-1 over on Bet365. They're pretty desperate. They're offering me a good cash out option, but I'm not even going to tell you guys what the number is because I'm holding on to that one. And I'm probably holding on to a Joey Logano title bet too. Pre-Daytona, 12-1 on Caesars. 16-1 on Bet365. They're offering me a pretty good cash out there too. $17 in what would be a $131 win. I have a lot more faith in Logano taking home a third title than I do in Enfinger, so I might have to hold on both of those too.
Yeah, you're getting so late in the season. I know we've played this game where we're trying to take a cash out, but when you have one race to make a difference, especially in the case of Logano, who he's had more time than anyone to prep. That's worked out the last couple of times he's been in this position. So I don't blame you for hanging on to that. I also have a 15-1 on Reddick, but no cash out offer. So guess we're just gonna ride it out. Like I'm all right with that. Sweating out though. I got a Kyle Larson Championship 4 ticket for 2 units down. I've been sweating all season. I felt good about it. I also have him on the outright to win the championship at 6-1, which is no longer a good ticket. I think he's like 6-1 out there on every book now. So I feel like an idiot for riding that out for 8 months here. But regardless, like, man, this is the time. Keep these tickets as long as you can. And if you got to hedge yourself next week, we can come out a winner no matter what happens.
That's a good point. And I'll share this with you guys later. I added a couple new title bets to my card today. Some good odds out there. You guys are probably going to call me crazy, but that's okay. I'll let you guys call me crazy because there's some good numbers in my opinion if miracles happen. We'll just say that.
I love it. I love it.
All right. So there's not really a lot news-wise. So we're going to kind of mix and mash and almost create some news, predict some news, just kind of do a ranking too. We ranked some of the best remaining free agents across the series of NASCAR, I should say. Some guys in Cup, Xfinity, and Truck who don't have their plans certain next year. I've got 15 people on a nice little tier maker here. Anthony Alfredo, who was in the number 5 Xfinity car. Tyler Ankrum, Raja Caruth, Chandler Smith, Grant Enfinger, Jake Garcia, Corey Heim, Daniel Hemrick, Corey LaJoy. Why is this guy? Ty Majeski.
Yep.
Ryan Preece, Ben Rhodes, Ryan Truex, Tanner Gray, and Zane Smith. All guys who do not have confirmed plans. I know a lot of these guys being lower series. The Truck Series doesn't quite sort things out till the wintertime. I'm sure a lot of these guys maybe will stay where they are, but they're all worth chatting about. And they're not. Seth, you threw a couple other names in here. Some people in the Toyota pipeline, a person like Corey Day. Those guys are locked down. They're at Toyota pipeline or the Hendrick Chevy pipeline. Their rides are going to be sorted out. They're worked out. Some of these guys, it's not necessarily the case. So I guess we've kind of got a tier ranking going here. We'll kind of figure it out as we go. But who's someone that you want to talk about first as somebody who has not been confirmed yet for any plans for 25?
I mean, the 101 of this group has to be Corey Heim. I mean, can we get this guy a ride? Can In Between Media sponsor him? I don't know what's happening here. We obviously know there's some kind of bad relations going on with Joe Gibbs Racing and Corey Heim. We know him and Ty Gibbs aren't really necessarily the friendliest of company and competition. But this is a guy who has dominated the Truck Series all year long. He's not the most exciting personality, but he's a good interview. He's solid with the media. He's not a dirty driver by any means, and he can drive everything. We've seen him fare pretty decently in his Cup debut in Legacy equipment earlier this season, which was kind of surprising. He's driven the wheels off those Sam Hunt racing cars in the Xfinity Series, and he's made this Tricon Garage truck one of the best in the series, while his teammate Taylor Gray's done really nothing. So Corey Heim, like, he needs to be in Cup, and if he's not in Cup, can we get him just in some bad fast Xfinity car? But I don't know if there's any of those left.
Yeah, it's tough because if there is some sort of weird relationship thing, whether it's just that he doesn't bring the money to the table, or if Ty Gibbs hates his guts and now Ty Gibbs is an Xfinity owner for JGR, he's like, fuck this guy, I'm not signing this guy. I don't know. And it's tough because Toyota does have a lot of young prospects in their pipeline, regardless of how good you think some of these people are compared to Heim's pedigree that he's had in trucks. I'm not sure. Obviously, he's deserving to move up to an Xfinity ride. Maybe that's the Sam Hunt 26. Maybe he ends up in Cup. The rumor mill, I don't know how much you can trust the rumor mill, especially with so much other things going on in NASCAR. Maybe the rumor mill is not super accurate. Things have been flying around that maybe Heim does get that Cup ride that you want him to get and bumps John Hunter Nemechek out of the 42 for Legacy, which that would be kind of nuts because, first of all, poor JHN, if that happens, gets the Cup with front row, says, fuck this, I'm out. I want to get a better shot. All the way back to trucks with KBM, all the way back up to Cup with Legacy, and maybe thrown out after a year for a team that's really nowhere close. But regardless of where he ends up, even if he ends up stuck in the Tricon truck, goes out, wins 10 more races next year, and still waits for the next thing, I'm not sure. But Heim, definitely the most deserving on this list, I feel like, of something better than what he's got.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's the clear 101. Who's the 102, do you think, though? Because you could make an argument for a lot of these people, and we've seen a lot of these drivers come on late.
Yeah, that's true. For me, I'm going to throw up a guy that if you've been paying attention, he's pretty much already got a ride sorted. It's just how is that ride going to be sorted? Ryan Preece, the last man standing from Stewart-Haas Racing, did a test with Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, testing wet weather tires at Homestead, which I guess that could be news in its own case, testing the rain tires at bigger tracks. And then they did an interview with Brad Moran, the Cup Series managing director or something, who kind of let it slip that Preece was probably going to drive for RFK next year, probably in the 60 car. The only thing that needs to be worked out is the charter, which that can come from a bunch of different sources now. It doesn't necessarily have to be an open ride or leased from Rick Ware or something. But I know you got a lot of high potential guys. You got a lot of prospects here. But this is a guy who is a proven Cup racer. He hasn't been a proven Cup winner yet. He's not really a playoff caliber driver at this point. But he's a talented enough guy that back in the past would ride in the Cup Series for 10 years and do well and occasionally probably rip out a win. And especially in RFK equipment, that's something he maybe can do. He's got short track pedigree. He's one of the better modified drivers that we've seen in the country in the last 10 years or so. As of late, he's been running pretty well in Cup also. So a guy like Ryan Preece, I like the prospects, but also I like a guy who's proven that he can drive and not embarrass himself in the Cup Series.
Yeah, congrats to Ryan Preece for probably getting that third RFK ride in that, I believe, number 60 car, if I'm correct, Elliot.
I imagine that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And hopefully they do lock down a charter for him one way or another, because the most recent car to run open full-time all year was Ryan Preece in the JTG 37 back in 2021. So that's a lot of pressure having to try to qualify into every race. Most of the time it's not an issue, but that's going to be a really fucking stressful Daytona 500 if they don't have that car chartered.
Yeah, Priest's one of those guys. He's got the Kroger backing. He's got that relationship kind of on lock for some time now. And it feels like to me, if something were to fall through with that ride, I know it hasn't been announced and, still has to go through NASCAR to approve the charter sale and everything like that. But I mean, how fun would it be to see Ryan Preece go down and just whoop everyone's ass in the Truck Series? I mean, he would be a 5-time winner. Like honest to God, like he is that type of talented kid. So I call him a kid. He's probably older than us at this point, I would say.
Yeah, I think he's pushing 30, but yeah.
But yeah, so, and like the thing about Ryan Preece, a bit of a specialist, like where he's going to show up. He's going to show up on the short tracks. His modified background is going to kick in. He's going to have some like, what the hell are you doing moments on road courses and super speedways. But yeah, he's solid. I think also, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't throw Zane Smith up in this top tier. I think he belongs there, man. And listen, Zane Smith put in one of the worst situations I've ever seen for a Cup Series rookie. He's, was under contract by Trackhouse racing out of the Spire Motorsports stable, and this entire team is pretty much on lease. So it's kind of just a weird situation. I have a little bit of an insider knowledge that vibes just weren't great on that team to begin the season. But he's really turned it on, man. Look at what he's done since Nashville when he almost stole a win there. Average finish of 16.8 since then. That's 16 races ago, 4 months. This guy's been a top 20 contender. And the Spire cars in general look awesome. And hopefully, like I had a dream the one night. I woke up the next day thinking that, and I think I texted you or something. I was like, yeah, Zane Smith front row. And like I thought that was happening. Apparently not happening. So maybe happening, but we'll have to kind of wait and see now with the lawsuits and the charters. But Zane Smith, if he doesn't get a Cup Series ride, and I think he should, like even if you're Rick Ware, go sign Zane Smith if he's still out there and nothing happens here with Front Row Motorsports. But he's another guy who would go back down to the trucks and kick everyone's ass again.
Yeah, he is kind of a guy without a home, and it is a tough situation. He may be the front runner for a third potential front row car, but for both him and for Riley Herbst, who has been the all but certain candidate to drive the third full-time 2311 car, they're in complete limbo right now because of this charter lawsuit. Those charter sales have not been approved yet. They still are technically signed in for next year with what will become Haas factory team. So those sales don't go through. They don't run with charters. Monday's a big day in that lawsuit. Yeah. There's, of course, Bob Pockris and those guys. If you need updates on that, go to guys like that. They can tell you a lot better than we can just reading their stuff. But they're in tough situations right now. Zane is definitely a guy that's deserving. Obviously, Spire's not going to be a landing place. Trackhouse, unfortunately, not a landing place. They've got too many drivers than they can even handle right now. But definitely a guy that is deserving. And even in the truck series, there are some decent truck rides that could be open. Maybe that 19 truck that Christian Eckes was driving, who's heading to Colleague Xfinity next year.
Taylor Gray's truck, too.
Yeah, could be Taylor Gray's truck as well with Tricon. Definitely somebody that should be in the top 3 series, really should be in the Cup series. But sometimes that happens. You kind of got to drop down. If he goes and kicks ass in a lower series, no doubt he'll be up again soon. Another guy that I won't quite put in the A's, I'm going to put him in the B's. Former Xfinity champ Daniel Hemrick in the Cup Series this year hasn't really embarrassed himself with Colleague. I don't know how reliable of a source this is because this is just some guy on Instagram who turned into some guy on
I would say not a reliable source then if it's just some gym.
Probably not super reliable, but like we talked about before the show, I think this is worth discussion just because it's interesting and because I brought up the charter stuff just a minute ago. Hemrick's name could be in the hat now for that 19 truck as well. Hemrick, to be honest with you, is a guy that doesn't really give you Cup upside. Maybe doesn't even give you Xfinity upside, considering the only Xfinity win he was able to nail in top equipment was for the championship back a few years ago. But so they're saying for Hemrick, it could be a full-time Truck Series ride as well as a part-time Cup car potentially fielded by NASCAR themselves. And the quote from this guy, as well as a part-time Cup car fielded by NASCAR in some sort of mission for them to find out exactly how much it costs to run a team. Wild rumors, I know, don't shoot the messenger is what he says. And this is interesting when it comes down to the whole lawsuit factor because NASCAR kind of dipping their own toe in the ring. If they don't, if all the lawsuit stuff happens to the point where they have extra charters to play with, they can go ahead and run cars under those charters. Wow. And they can sort of figure it out, gather the data that could benefit NASCAR in the lawsuit. If they say, hey, we went out and we ran a team. If they ran a part-time car, if they ran a full-time car, they could even run 2 full-time cars. I know Corey LaJoie is a guy who's gotten backing from NASCAR who also doesn't have a ride for next year and is on this list. Maybe NASCAR kind of dips their hat in the ring. We know they could probably gather the crews. They could give people the jobs, and they could figure this out. We know this lawsuit's probably going to take years. They could get to the end of next year and have data from, hey, we ran a team ourselves, and these were our numbers going and comparing those to what the other teams are looking for. Again, could just be crazy. Could be my tinfoil hats on and this guy's tinfoil hats on. Just something interesting to think about, especially when you have quality drivers, because you can't say Hemrick, LaJoie, and those guys, they're quality enough that they won't embarrass you on a super frequent basis, at least. They could be guys that could be in this very interesting situation next year.
Regardless of whether it's a car fielded by NASCAR or whether he just gets the 19 truck, that would be great for Daniel Hemrick. I mean, this is a talented driver. He has a little bit of a bug that he can't win. We all remember Phoenix a couple of years ago, as you alluded to, in that Xfinity Series championship where he moved Cindric out of the way to get that dub. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
But I mean, from a betting standpoint, I would love him down in the trucks or Xfinity because he'd be another guy. If you're not betting him to win regularly, but you're betting him for top fives or betting him for matchups and consistent runs. That's what Daniel Hemrick does, dude. And he's kind of burned us a couple times this year when we've tried to bet on him. We tried to hit the top 20 for him on this last Super Speedway. He was like 7 for 7, though, leading up to that on Super Speedways, finishing top 20 so far this season. So he has talent, man. And hasn't been a great showing from this colleague organization as a whole. So yeah, I think Daniel Hemrick is right there. I think it's a great place for him. Man, am I crazy to say Ryan Truex is probably the next guy for me? Like,
Nope. I don't think
he,
you are at all. He was
he's
one of the next couple for me, honestly.
he's ran a handful of races. He's won this year. He's won at places like Dover. That's a bit of a driver's track, in my opinion. He's also shown some prowess on these super speedways, and he's done a lot. Has some good equipment, Joe Gibbs Racing. But even in the races that he's ran for Sam Hunt Racing, he's looked awesome. So, I think Ryan Truex belongs there, and probably Chandler Smith in that bees as well. I mean, you can touch a little more on Chandler, but he's a guy who seems frustrated almost that he can't find a ride for next year.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll start with Truex because, I mean, he's shown he's a good driver. He's shown he can win at places other than Dover, too. He got that Daytona win. In good equipment, this is a guy that can definitely nail you a couple wins a year, can be a playoff contender. He's just one of those guys. He's been around forever. He's had full-time Cup years under his belt in those major shitter BK racing cars back in the mid-2010s. But this is a guy that he's shown when he's given the opportunities, he can go out there and win. It's just such a big funding game in ways that are really tough to comprehend. I do think that Ryan Truex's best bet is probably just to continue to roll with Martin, because Martin's going to run at least the 500 over 2311 if everything works out there.
Yeah.
And he's expressed interest in running Xfinity races because the Xfinity car is hell similar to the old Cup car that Martin Truex actually knew how to win in, unlike this next gen. Have Martin run a couple and have a partner say, hey, I'll go and run you 5 races if you give Ryan 10 races, that sort of deal. And give Ryan kind of an assortment of tracks. Let him show again that he can go out and win. You sure as shit are putting him in that car at Dover, I can tell you that, going for the three-peat. So for a guy like Truex, hopefully he just gets some shot. He may not be a guy that's going to get a full-time competitive ride anymore. He's a guy that's been around forever. Age isn't on his side like some of these other young hot shots. But with Chandler Smith, he's one of those young hot shots that has money behind him, but it's just not enough money. And I understand the argument from everybody because Chandler Smith went out, put on the record that he says he's got nothing locked down for next year. As far as he knows, he's working for his dad's construction company come February rather than racing. And it's tough because Chandler Smith's a good driver, proven winner, has won in good equipment, has done well even in college, but he's a guy that does have money to his advantage. He made the jump from JGR, jumped to college, bought himself out of the college contract, go back to JGR. He's a guy that's got money, but he's not a guy that's got enough money behind him, nor apparently enough wins or anything, which is surprising because he could go out there and win a championship and then maybe not even be in a ride. We've seen that happen before. I think Brett Moffitt in the trucks. I don't know if he was full-time the next year, but this just seems crazy, especially because Chandler Smith's not broke. He's got some funding behind him.
Yeah, it's difficult. He's not the most likable and marketable driver. I think that doesn't help him all the times, but
Right.
I mean, he's damn consistent. He's a guy we've hit on a lot in the betting scene this year and just throwing top 5 bets on him, betting man in matchups. We've hit a couple outrights for him on some of these different tracks as well. And TK in the chat saying Smith, too much of a diva, blowing up on the team when things don't go wrong. Solid driver for sure. Otherwise, yeah, you ever listen to Chandler Smith radio? It's definitely a bit interesting there for sure.
Right. It's a lot of these other kids too with money. They'll, not be the most marketable, not be the friendliest guys. They got to learn, but I don't know.
Yeah, I won't reveal too much, but I know we were trying to get kind of an exclusive interview with him a couple years ago. His PR person was really on board with it, very friendly, Jen over there, and Chandler didn't want anything to do with it. So but again, we're a small town operation, so I don't blame him. It was the day of a race, but yeah, I think it's things like that maybe, and kind of people listening to the radio that maybe turn people off of Chandler, but regardless, he should have a ride. He's a talented driver. I think we can drop to the C's, and I think we can throw a couple of them out there. I think you can throw Ty Majeski. He's done pretty much everything he can with ThorSport, a truck series team that's not even based in Charlotte. They're based out of Sandusky, Ohio. They didn't have an engineer till mid-season as well. So their engineers also right out of the boat out of college as well. So very young team. He's won multiple races, inconsistent as hell. He's a guy who can go out there wrecking the first 5 laps. I think Majeski deserved to ride, and Enfinger as well. You kind of touched on him earlier. He's made the most of this truck there, and always comes in late, and a veteran driver can get you the championship in trucks.
Yeah, and with Enfinger, he has shown that he definitely can do that. Did it with a better team and has done it now with a smaller team. I think he's a guy that is kind of a truck lifer, though. There's a few of those guys on here, which we'll kind of get to. Majeski, I think, is one of those guys, too, because he was on a more meteoric rise, pre-COVID, COVID season, had some truck funding lockdown. I think he was with Nice, if I remember correctly, maybe NASCAR Heat 5 is having me misremember there. I believe he also ran the 60 back when Roush still had a program there. And I believe he had almost a full year somewhere in there. I'm sorry, I don't have these stats in front of me. He had almost a full year where I think he had to dip out of NASCAR and do late model stuff and then come back. So he's a guy that's got the talent, but maybe one of those guys that unfortunately has just kind of passed him by. But if you look at some of these other guys that have done it before, there's not a huge problem with being a truck or an Xfinity lifer. Not everybody has to go and make it to the Cup Series. There's only, next year there may only be 32 full-time chartered Cup rides. That's not that many. And there's, out of those 32, 36, even if we went back to 43 Cup rides, there's 75 drivers that are deserving of those 40 Cup rides, and they're not all going to get Cup rides. And to a point, I'll throw Corey LaJoie in the C's also. I have another point to make on some other drivers. But for LaJoie, he's the kind of guy that really could benefit from dipping back down to Xfinity and truck. I've said it before. He's a guy who had the funding behind him, had the momentum behind him. He didn't run full-time in trucks. He didn't run full-time in Xfinity. When he got the Cup ride, he took it. He's had the staying power. I give him credit for that. But he's a guy that if he goes down and gets in a decent Xfinity car or a decent truck, learns some more racecraft, figures out how to win a race in the top 3 series, he's a guy that could be up there for a chance at some more competitive rides in 2 to 3 seasons. But I just think he's hard-headed enough. I want to be a Cup Series driver that he'll be willing to sit in a Rick Ware car all next year.
Yeah, it's unfortunate too, because I would love to see what LaJoie could do in some of these lower series. We've seen him run some one-off races, but never in any really good equipment for the most part. And I think with LaJoie, like, he's been running back markers for as long as a lot of people have been watching NASCAR. You know what I mean?
He's run multiple years for teams that don't exist anymore. That's how long he's been around.
Yeah, and so it's great to see him have the opportunity that he had with Spire, and now Rick Ware Racing to end his season. But yeah, I think send him back down. I would also say someone kind of in that same tier, Anthony Alfredo, dude. Like, this is a guy who's making the most of his opportunity here. He's got a great relationship with Dude Wipes as well. And it feels like, I mean, he won the Dash for Cash earlier this season, got done that 100K. And he's making the most of his opportunity, especially on these super speedways where he can match the speed a little bit. Kind of a shit road course driver. You're never going to bet him there, and could definitely improve a bit at the 1.5 miles. But I've seen him have speed at super speedways. I've seen him have speed at short tracks. We've kind of seen this guy rise through the ranks once or twice. But Anthony Alfredo, I think, is a really marketable guy. And I like Alfredo. I mean, he's got a big cult following for whatever reason too.
He does. He's a popular guy. He's a nice guy. I'm pretty sure that he's the Hendrick Sim driver, which is a really good place to be. We've seen Alex Bowman spend a year as the Hendrick Sim driver and has been full-time at Hendrick there. I think where he's at with Al Motorsports is probably the best spot. They're a team that kind of bit off more than they could chew when they first started. I think they might have had 3 full-time Xfinity cars. They were like, oh shit, we can't afford to do this anymore. Scaled back their operation, got a guy like Alfredo with some funding and with some talent. I think continuing to build with this team might be his best shot. Remember, he had the full-time year in Cup with Front Row, did all right. Had a full-time year in Xfinity with Richard Childress Racing, did all right. He's kind of a guy that, one of those guys that maybe an Xfinity lifer sticking with this team, rolling with it at least for another year, continuing to grow, continuing to build, because I don't think a Hendrick ride's going to open up for him like it happened to in the past. But he's definitely a guy that's marketable and definitely a guy that doesn't stink.
Yeah, certainly, and I'd say Rajah could probably round out this C tier for us, Elliot.
I would agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, he probably has more upside than some of these other guys. He's just so much more raw, right? Like, doesn't come from a huge racing background, did a lot of sim racing growing up, which is awesome. And I'm sure we'll get to a point here in 3 to 5 years where that's where we're getting most of our drivers is from the esports and the sim and the iRacing world. And
we've already seen it with Byron. He started in racing.
Yeah, so Rajah, he's great at these 1.5 mile tracks, pretty inconsistent at short tracks and super speedway still. And I think he still needs another year or 2 in trucks before he can even move up to Xfinity full time. He has ran part-time Xfinity, But yeah, I mean, shout Mr. H for supporting him and really making sure he had a ride for the whole season. But he's a talented guy, and he's talked about someone who's marketable. Probably one of the most marketable guys on this list we're doing here.
No doubt about it. And I kept Raja on this list. I took a guy like Corey Day off, but I left Raja on, even though he's not really a free agent. I'm almost certain that he'll be back in the Spire truck next year. He's still very raw. He still probably needs another year or two. But I think that the plan, and I'm going to throw my tinfoil hat back on here for a minute if you'll oblige. The plan for Hendrick Motorsports in 5 to 7 years. William Byron's young enough. He'll stick in the 24. I think Raja Carruth is in one of those seats. I think Corey Day is in one of those seats. And I think Connor Zilic is in one of those seats. My hot take of the day is Zilic will run more cup races for Hendrick than he does for Trackhouse by the time it's over. They already kind of are sneaking him in the building with JRM. We know the Trackhouse and Hendrick, they were closer in years like 2022. The disparity's kind of grown there. Trackhouse going to try to run 3 full-time next year. Who knows how that's going to work? We've seen regression from Chastain. We've seen regression from Suarez. We don't know how SVG is going to do. I think that Raja Carruth and those other guys, they're in the long-term Hendrick plan. If they all continue to grow, and I think Raja definitely has that potential, I think he's certainly back in a Spire truck, funded largely by Rick Hendrick next year.
Yeah, it's totally plausible, and I don't think don't with your tinfoil hat on there, don't roll out Carson Hocevar maybe as a future Hendrick driver as well.
That's a good point too, and he could fit in that interim of saying
7
years down the road. Because I think you're still going to have Larson wanting to race for a few more years and Chase Elliott wanting to race in a few more years. They were names I didn't mention in those Hendrick seats, and that he could be a guy in the interim for sure. Lots of potential, but I think those 3 guys in particular that I mentioned are definitely the 3 highest, the ones that I think they're looking toward the most for the next extremely dominant Hendrick Motorsports era.
Yeah, let's round it out here and we can quickly touch on the D tier. But Jake Garcia, pretty disappointing rookie season for him in the trucks. Honestly, hasn't really been competitive for the most part. In a decent ride, I know our guy Full Tank with Phil was pretty high on him coming into the season. I think he even had a championship ticket on him at one point. Hopefully, he got out of that while he could. But any thoughts on Garcia, Ben Rhodes? It just feels like time's kind of passed Ben Rhodes a little bit. I know that team might not be what they were at one point either, but. Ben Rhodes also kind of backed his way into a championship last year, for being honest. Like, he is a two-time
the playoffs, man. The best team doesn't always win.
Yeah, he is a two-time winner in the Truck Series. But I don't know. He's been pretty dog shit this year.
Yeah, I think with all 4 of these guys, I just threw them all in the Ds. I didn't even include an F tier because it's disrespectful. I don't think any of these guys are failures by any sort of measure. But all 4 of these guys probably back in trucks next year. Garcia, one of those raw guys that he didn't have the year he wanted. ThorSport as a whole didn't really have the year they wanted. Same with Rhodes. He's a Truck Series lifer at this point. Tyler Ankrum is probably heading that way. Seems like Laiuna is behind him. They followed him to multiple different teams now. I think he kind of hangs around as long as he wants. And Tanner Gray, it seems like his brother Taylor's really jumped him. I don't really know what's next for him. He didn't really show me anything in the trucks. Out of everybody on this list, I have him at the back here. He's the guy that's most likely to not have a top 3 series ride next year. That's on speculation. That's on results. There's no rumors behind that. We have no idea. He could just be right back in that Tricon truck next year. I'm not sure because he's still obviously got some Toyota backing as well as his brother, as well as some of these other Toyota pipeline drivers. But this entire D tier, you're probably going to see him in the Truck Series again next year.
Agreed. Absolutely, man. Fun exercise, Elliot. Glad to kind of get that out there and some more content for everyone who might not be super into the betting side of things, but definitely ready to turn the page now and look at Martinsville if you are.
Yep. Why waste any more time? Let's go ahead and take a look at the Martinsville Horizon forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
So we are heading to the Martinsville Speedway down there in Martinsville, Virginia. A unique half-mile short track. They call it the Paperclip for a reason. You take a look at it. Looks like a damn paperclip.
Yeah, that's really what it is, man. And there is no true comparison for Martinsville. That's something you got to keep in mind when you're betting it. But you can look at some of these secondary comps that I do think play a factor into it. They're kind of some wonky ones. You have New Hampshire. I think that's the biggest one that you can take from because it is a legit regular season race. You can look at North Wilkesboro, especially for the truck series, because that is a real race. But you can pull from the All-Star race, the All-Star Open a little bit, and then the LA Coliseum if you want to get real nasty with it and pull some Busch Light Clash numbers. But generally, the people who do well at Martinsville do well at the Coliseum. They do well at North Wilkesboro. They do well at New Hampshire. So yeah, those are kind of the comps I have. Any digression from you there?
No, I think Martinsville is kind of its own beast. I do like the New Hampshire because you look at New Hampshire, it kind of looks like a paperclip too, just stretched out a little more, a little bit of a longer track there. And yeah, the short tracks, you may as well take some Coliseum data because it's going to be old data and they're not running it again next year. Wilkesboro, another place, especially in the Cup Series with how the next gen has operated, all the short tracks have been relatively similar racing, relatively similar finishing orders for a lot of these guys.
Agreed. Looking at some of the tires we're going to see this weekend too, Elliot, Goodyear is introducing a new left side tire compound, supposedly one of their softest tire compounds yet. We'll see. We've definitely heard that song and dance a few times, but the option tires will be the standard right side tires in this. So Denny Hamlin talked about on Actions Detrimental, and he's someone way smarter to me when it comes to tire wear and kind of the engineering that goes behind this. He thinks it's going to matter more. He thinks the tire wear is going to be up and that we're not going to see the same 300 cars dominating this race like we did earlier in the spring. Like, you still are going to have your, I think, main Martinsville ringers up there every single year. But the tire compound definitely interesting here, and hopefully we'll make this a better race because let's be honest, like Martinsville in the Cup Series has been absolute dog shit for 2 years now. Like the Xfinity Series and Truck Series have been way better, even though there is some bumper cars going on pushing each other out of the way in those lower series.
Well, hey, Austin Hill's already locked in, so he doesn't need to dump his teammate and somebody else to get the win this coming year. But yeah, this is just Goodyear throwing everything they can at it to try to get short track racing to be better. Because a lot of it obviously is the car, but a lot of it is the tire. You can't change the car, but you can change the tire. And they're going to look to recapture some of the magic that they had at Spring Bristol. They're gonna want to try to recapture that magic forever, I think. But having tires that are a little softer, that wear a little better, that will run a little better on short tracks for these cars, definitely something they need. So props to Goodyear for giving it a try. There's big problems with the next gen cars we've always talked about, but you can't change the car in season. You can change the tire, like I said.
Does it change your handicapping at all? For me, it just makes me a little more excited for some of these guys who are better at high tire wear. Like someone like Ty Gibbs, who has been good at this style track. He was great at the Clash. He dominated earlier this season as well in that All-Star Open.
Yep.
Off my card because I can't trust him on high tire wear tracks. Like I just don't. You know what I mean? Like so like that's kind of the only handicapping effect I think it really has for me is like the veterans who have been good at the high tire wear tracks this season are the ones I'm kind of circling this weekend.
Yeah, it really didn't affect my card because they also said Bristol was going to be crazy again, and Bristol was the most milquetoast, chalky, boring ass race that we've seen.
Yeah, it was.
So it doesn't really affect my card. That's a good point on Gibbs because he did early mid-tier that Spring Bristol race that went crazy with tires. He was near the front. Same with the Coliseum, but then as the tire wear increased, as the time went on, really faded and really did not perform to the performance of what that car should have.
We don't have to have a conversation about that, but talk about a disappointing sophomore year for him. We were talking about him after the Clash. He was minus 140 to get a win, and neither of us liked that number after that. I know pre-Clash it was like plus 110. You and I were both considering that, and hopefully you guys didn't bet Ty Gibbs to win this year, but looking at the schedule for this weekend, 6 p.m. Eastern time, that truck race. There's no lights at Martinsville. Is that correct? Is that why we're running this at fucking 6 p.m.?
No, they didn't have lights for the longest time, but they do have lights now. And for Ty Gibbs, I don't necessarily rule out him getting a win next year, even for some of these great drivers.
Yeah.
Especially with a guy, I think it took Chase Elliott almost 100 Cup races. It took Byron forever. It took Bowman quite a while. Some of these guys, they don't always win in the Cup Series right away. So I think for Ty Gibbs, that bet's going to look a little better. But yeah, minus 140, I'm glad that we both bailed on that because the chances of him winning this year were not super high, and it didn't happen. But yes, there are lights at Martinsville now. Remember, we ran a couple of nights.
Then why the fuck we running a truck race at 6 p.m. Eastern time? That's not as dumb as what was it a couple weeks ago, like 5 or 4:30. Like,
I think Talladega trucks ran 4:30 Eastern because there's no lights at Talladega.
Let's let people all around the country get home, take off a load, crack open a beer, smoke a joint, smoke a dart. I don't care. Take it easy before they got to just jump into it at 6 p.m. Eastern time.
Put that
It's
little
really
smile
difficult.
on your face,
Yeah, National Debt Relief 250. Cool. I'm gonna be watching at 9 o'clock tomorrow, so don't fucking text me. Don't let me know what happened. And
Yep, I've learned that I don't ever send Seth what happens, or I don't even bother with the hey, did you catch up yet? I just wait for him to comment and then I share my
yeah,
opinion with him.
yes. On Saturday, we do have a loaded day at the track, though, 1 p.m. Eastern time, cup practice and qualifying. They get a pretty good, about a 45-minute session going on Saturday for practice, which is exciting. We don't see that too much, but the new tires will, certainly play a factor in that. So I think that's why they're giving them some extra allotted time there. 4 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, Xfinity race. Then at 4, the Zip buy now, pay later 200. Did we not have this as a sponsor already this year? Am I remembering wrong, Elliot?
No, I think so. And the thing is, it may have been Zip, it may have been another one of these companies, but it is kind of funny to have national debt relief and then the buy now, pay later the next day. That is kind of funny. But
Yeah,
whoever's going to give Martinsville the money and NASCAR the money is really what matters.
Okay, TK in the chat saying Xfinity Sonoma. Yeah, okay. I thought we had seen some shit like that, but hey, shout out to them for wanting more. We need more sponsors out here.
Anybody that will come back to NASCAR, even if it's the same damn race name, who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't beat the Pocono race name. I'll tell you that, my friend, the Great American Escape 400, right?
Oh, yeah. It was pretty neat when it was the Pocono Organic CBD 400 too. Pocono with the best sponsors on the track, man.
Every time.
Triangle.
Every time, baby. I wouldn't expect anything less, though, from great old Pennsylvania. Sunday, then, 2 p.m. Eastern time, the Cup race, the Xfinity 500. Laps 130 and 260 are those stage breaks, and then 500. So, it's a long race. A lot can happen there, but hopefully everyone sticks their P's and Q's because I'm betting the chalk. I'm betting a lot of chalk here, so don't need a lot of fuckery happening here. Looking at some of the trends for this weekend, the playoffs, as far as Martinsville specifically, there are 5 playoff Martinsville winners active in this race. Hamlin has 2 wins at Martinsville in the playoffs. Logano has 1. Chase Elliott has 1. Christopher Bell has 1. Ryan Blaney has 1. So kind of your usual suspects there.
Yeah.
8 times the winner of the Martinsville playoff race has gone on to win the championship. I think that's a huge number. 8 is a large number there. In 2020, we saw Chase Elliott do it. Just last year in 2023, we saw Ryan Blaney do it. We know there's a lot of guys, Larson, Bell, Elliott, Blaney, Hamlin, all these guys who are right in that mix.
NASCAR posted this earlier today. All 6 of the guys that are not locked in, they all have won Cup races at Martinsville. And that would be true even if Bowman were in the round of 8. All past winners at Martinsville. Not necessarily in the playoff race, but all guys that have gotten it done there. That makes it really exciting as well.
And speaking of Bowman, just 3 times a non-playoff driver has won this race. Last one to do it, Alex Bowman, 2021. So
I don't know if you guys remember the ending of this race. Naturally, I do. There was obviously the late caution because he got a little loose, knocked Denny Hamlin up the track. It wasn't really a hack move, but then it called it a hack move. So coming to that restart, green-white checkered overtime finish. Bowman was first. In second was Kyle Busch needing to win to make the championship 4. In third was Brad Keselowski needing to win to make the championship 4. And I thought Bowman was going to get sent to the fucking moon in one of those 2 laps. I thought there's no way these 2 guys are not going to get rough. Didn't work. 48 car went. Obviously, Brad ended up knocking Kyle Busch out of the way, kind of spinning them. Didn't matter because neither of them were going to transfer through because that 48 car went to victory lane that day.
Yes. Looking at some more trends here, Joey Logano, speaking of him, he leads all actives in Martinsville, average starting position 8.3 and poles 5 as well. Denny Hamlin not far behind him. He has 4 poles and not too much worse of an average starting position as well. There are 11 active winners in this field. You kind of alluded to that. We've seen a lot of different people win Martinsville. However, the last time a first-time Cup Series winner won here was 2001, Ricky Craven. And before that, you got any idea who it was?
It's back in the 80s, I see.
Yeah, Jeff Bodine, 1984 for Hendrick to keep them alive. We learned about that earlier this year with some of those throwback paint schemes. So, you can cross out. For me, that's just confirmation that I can cross out guys like Ty Gibbs, like Ryan Preece, like these guys who just haven't won yet. Like you can kind of throw half the field out, which is, I mean, you kind of already were, but this gives you
Yes.
even more confirmation with that.
I'm pretty much throwing, like, I'm not considering a bet for 25 of the 37 cars in the field,
Yeah.
maybe 30. So
Yeah. There's one guy not in the playoffs we'll talk about that I have on my card, but outside of or two, I guess. But
I've got non-playoff guys on my card, but like still, even past that,
yeah.
certainly not for the outrights and not for anything meaningful.
Winners generally come from the top 10 here, 72% of the time, top 5, 51.7% of the time, a front row, 24.5. Not too much higher than our industry standard here. The one thing I did want to point out, though, outside the top 24.8% of the times. So we've seen guys win from the mid-teens. Blaney won from 11th last year, Elliot, but like, if you qualify outside the top 20, that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I did notice, too, that kind of similarly how it's been in the Cup Series, Reddick was just the second pole winner in like the past 55 races or something to take the win.
Yeah, we talked about that trend just recently. Yeah.
Yep, I was noticing with Martinsville, and I should have wrote it down because, of course, I see something that sticks in my brain, but I don't fucking write it down, so sorry. But I think only one time in the last 10, 11, 12 Martinsville races has the pole winner gone to victory lane. So it's something that just necessarily doesn't happen. Obviously, as you said, with the trends, a lot of those front row is good, top 5 is good, top 10 is awesome, but winning the pole doesn't necessarily guarantee you the fastest rocket ship in the field.
Yeah, and like qualifying, I think this week, if the tires are what they are advertised as, should matter less, right? You have to get down for the Cup Series race pre-flop this week. I don't think there's going to be a shit ton of value post-flop. I think we're going to kind of see generally who's going to be competing for this race in qualifying, in practice. I think the books will see that. Like, you might get a surprising person on the pole or potentially contending in this race. Last year, we saw Eric Almirola almost run away with this race, and Blaney tracked him down to win it. But yeah, I think in general, qualifying, I'm going to be looking who's fast in practice, but I care about practice more than qualifying this week, honestly. Like, I don't really, like, if you're outside the top 20 and you're one of these championship contenders, if you're a Blaney or a Bell or a Byron, I might be a little concerned, but tire wear should help that. So yeah, and that's really all the trends I got. Elliot, we'll get to the bets here just after we get to the iFantasyRace.com Asterisk Mark Driver of the Week. It's Denny Hamlin. This spring at Martinsville, Hamlin was one of the best and poised to finish 4th. But then if you remember this, I remember it very clearly because on Denny Hamlin top 5 with an absolute hammer. He finished 11th in that race. On lap 397, JHN spun out, bringing out a late caution, and then Denny Hamlin pitted. He was like the only one to pit. No one else pitted. Absolutely the wrong decision there, leading to a misleading result. In the race, though, Hamlin finished 7th in stage 1, won stage 2, led 66 laps, and had a 4.4 average running position and ranked 4th in the total speed rankings for myfantasyrace.com. So I thought Hamlin was someone good to mention here, Elliot, because you look back and you're like, why did he finish 11th? Because that was right in the middle of his hot streak, if you remember, too, when we were betting him every week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for a guy like Hamlin, he's obviously got the Martinsville pedigree. Didn't make the right decision there. Now they know they won't do that again come this year. But a guy like Hamlin, definitely one of these guys, especially in damn near a must-win situation that you just can't ignore, asterisk mark or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Elliot, we're already 53 minutes into this son of a bitch. So what do you say we crack open the Park and Garage props, man?
Yep, let's not waste any more time. Pull it in park and let you know who to bet for the week. So we already talked about the books a little bit. You know, it's one of those where you kind of got your guys, and it's tough to find some value otherwise, and fairly juicy week.
Yeah, but that's where we are, right? Like we're kind of locked in here. I feel really good about it. You're gonna have to pay some juice. I have one long. I think I have one long like plus money bet that's not an outright on my card this weekend, and it's a very long shot. So that's kind of where we're at, and embrace the juice, guys. Just embrace it at this point. We've made money the last 2 weeks. Just fucking hammer in the juice. So get creative, parlay something with an F1. Is there F1, G1? Is there F1 race this weekend? No.
G1. You've been watching too much Pat McAfee, haven't you? I
Hey
think it
man,
is F1 this week. I didn't really look into that because I just haven't been making as much money on it lately. So I'm trying not to bet the F1 like I was a couple of months ago.
yeah, whatever it is, get invested, parlay some stuff here, and yeah, like just you have to be creative here. But
Yeah.
I really like what we have for the Cup Series, so I think there is still some value out there on certain books. I'm gonna need your help though, Elliot, and hopefully the IVT family still riding along with us as well, and they can help us with these bottom series because not a lot of value in the trucks or Xfinity pre-flop. That's one where I might be waiting.
Yeah, that's true. And there's, like I said, there's a couple numbers that look all right, but there are going to be some waiting there too. Real
Okay,
juice.
let's go to the Cup Series outrights then. Let's start right there. Who are you liking here? Who's someone that's sticking out to you? Obviously, very juicy week, even in the outrights. But Kyle Larson, 5-1. That's the best we've seen him in a while. I've been off of
Yeah.
him, at least last week I was. I was heavy on him in Vegas. I was off of him last week at Homestead. Felt like a misprice. Denny Hamlin, 5-1. Blaney, 6-1. Elliott, 8.5-1. Then we start getting into the William Byron, the Bell tier, the Logano tier. So
Yeah.
who do you like here? Is there any one of these favorites that you're betting?
So for me, obviously, people know I'm a Hendrick Motorsports driver fan at least, but I do love a good underdog story. And there's a part of me that would love to see HMS get completely shut out of the Final Four, just like with a lot of you folks who are not Hendrick fans. But I think it would be shocking if none of these three Hendrick drivers are able to lock themselves in, and I think one of them is going to win the race. Byron obviously is at the top of my list, 10-1 on
Really?
FanDuel. He's already won 2 next-gen races, led 216 laps in one of the most boring races that I've ever watched, 2022 Spring Martinsville, that literally put me to sleep in a hotel room in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. But then in the spring, led 88 laps in the Hendrick Domination Fest. Chase, his finishes haven't been as good here lately. Obviously got the win to push him through in 20, ran second or third in the spring. I don't remember which one. His finish is kind of in the interim, like 16th, 17th, some 10th place. You wouldn't think those would be very good performances, but in those, especially in those, or this is in the next gen, is what I ended up doing. 675 laps led in the next gen, and that's without a next gen win here.
Wow.
I think, or maybe one win. But he's a guy that, even though the finishes haven't been great, can't ignore him, and you can never ignore Kyle Larson. This time of year, they're a team that they're just on their ship. Last week they ran into trouble. They get all the way back up. If it weren't for a slow pit stop where they had to kind of fix something else, he would have been right up there, second, third, fourth, fifth last week. Last four, Martinsville, second, first, sixth, second. So
Yep. So my question here, if you're betting all the Hendrick guys outright, are you betting them all outright individually? Or you're just taking an HMS outright bet. I've seen them plus 140, I think plus 150 around. So you can get them, but I don't know.
I don't hate that. Like I said, Byron's the only one I've thrown coin on so far. He's at the top of my list for it, but you can't rule out the 9 or the 5 either. Maybe it's worth a sprinkle on all three of them.
I like Larson, to be honest with you. I'm getting back in bed here. He did me dirty at Las Vegas, but also top 5 minus 120 at bet 365. Yes, please get down on that, folks. I hammered that 4 units down for me on that. Top 5 in 3 out of the 4 next gen races here, as you alluded to. And the other one that he didn't finish top 5, he was 6.
Yep.
So, and he's pulled it twice in that span as well. This is a guy who's going to unload fast. Second in the total speed rankings in the spring, first in the green flag speed, first in driver ratings. Like, Byron won that race, Elliot, yes. But at the same time, Byron was not the best car. Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott were better. Byron's pit crew is what kind of won him that race at Martinsville earlier this season. So I like Larson, honestly. Average running position of 3.5 in that race, led 86 laps as well. And look, dude, like, whose back is against the wall more than maybe Kyle Larson at this point? Like, you're the regular season, not the regular season champion, but
would have been if he had been able to step foot in the car in the Coke 373.5, which will still piss me off till the end of time. But
yeah, so it's one of those situations that, look, dude, he's got to prove himself now, and I like what he's done at the comps this season more than what I like at Byron and Chase. At New Hampshire, he was 4th in the total speed rankings, finished 4th. Remember, he also did not qualify himself into the All-Star race. Kevin Harvick was in that car, so he came all the way from the back up to 4th at North Wilkesboro. We were on the outside, thought maybe he could make it the full way. He couldn't. Too short of a track.
Well, nobody was able to pass the leader the whole race.
Yeah, so. But he got all the way up to 4th, which was impressive to me. Also, he finished 5th at the Clash, which shouldn't be taken for granted either. So I think Kyle Larson, if you're betting one of these favorites, I like him. And if it's not him, look, dude, it's got to be Ryan Blaney, right? I mean, this
He's
guy,
the other outright on my card. So, yep.
this guy, this is the biggest I bet it outright probably in a couple of months, honestly, since I was betting Hammered some SVGs at some of these road courses back in the summer. But Ryan Blaney has been a certified fucking problem at the Paperclip, folks.
Yeah.
The way he drives this track, it's different, dude. He hugs that line way better, way tighter than anybody else here does. Average finish of 4.0 in 5's next gen races here. Finished no worse than P7 in that span. What did he do at Loudon? Well, if it wasn't for fucking Michael McDowell getting all ballsy at the end, this guy's probably winning that race or at least finish second. He had one of the cars to beat, a 5.9 average running position there, second best in the total speed rankings. At North Wilkesboro, started 17th, made his way up to 5th on a day when passing came at a premium. And if you remember, he got the provisional that transferred him into the Clash, or he wouldn't even made the second round of the Clash. He got the provisional, started last in 23rd, made his way up into the top 5. So, I mean, dude, he knows how to work tire wear. He's been better than everyone on these short tracks this season as far as moving through the field. Like, if he gets stuck in traffic, I trust Blaney more than I do Larson to move up.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. For Blaney, your winner is one of these 4 guys, maybe Denny Hamlin. I think that Hendrick will dominate, and I think that Blaney is definitely the guy that will dominate. And, he's been replaying that last lap of Martinsville all week. Literally, all he had to do was just run the damn top instead of the middle, and Reddick's not going to pass you up there, and he would already be locked in. But he did it last year, locked in with that, won the championship. Probably has to win again to lock in. Like you said, last 5 here, 4th, 3rd, 7th, 1st, and 5th. And even his career average, you said it was 5 point something in the next gen, dating back even to the Wood Brothers days, 8.8 career average finish. He's always run well at Martinsville. He needs to again this year to fight for a championship, and he'll be a contender for sure on Sunday.
I got that 12-1 that I accidentally placed earlier this year on him to win the championship.
Right.
So I am hoping, I am praying, do me a little double duty here.
That reminds me real quick. I didn't even mention with Chase Elliott. He was one of the guys I threw a little championship sprinkle on because he's in such a must-win situation, and he would probably need to win both races. I got a ticket on him at plus 42.50 to win the title.
Really?
Yep. So it's like you see that big of numbers. Obviously, has to go win 2 in a row. You don't see that often, but he's done it before.
But he
saw it happen last year. We almost saw it happen in 22 with Bell. It's been done. That's a gigantic fucking number.
He wins one though, and you're gonna cash out option.
That's a really good
if he wins this weekend. So, and Stan in the chat, this might be the trend of the year. This is a great trend. In 1988 and 2020, the Dodgers won the World Series, and then Elliott won the NASCAR championship in both years. The Dodgers just won the World Series.
Could see it. I've seen some trends flying around of similarities. 20 and 24. Chiefs won the Super Bowl both years. Could be something to look into. I love me a good random ass trend like this.
Yeah, that even year. That's like some even year Logano type shit there.
But look at even year Logano. It worked.
It did.
It worked. It's worked for almost 10 years. So I love stuff like this.
So I want to go to play. No more outrights for you. We're just pretty much on Hendricks and Blaney. That's pretty much where we are. Okay, great.
Yep.
Looking at the placement props, I've done it all season long. I'm doing it again. And I'm placing my biggest bet of the year. I will clarify, Bet365 just recently opened up in PA, so I got a lot of bonus bets I need to use. I'm throwing 10 units worth of bonus bets on this. 3-leg parlay, Ryan Blaney, top 10, minus 320. Georgia money line, minus 800 over Florida. They got a true freshman quarterback there in Florida. Georgia's going to eat him for lunch. And our guy, Kurt Signetti, baby, and the Indiana Hoosiers, minus 300 versus Michigan State. Former IUP head football coach, baby, has taken Indiana to the top. I'm taking them against Michigan State. You parlay these 2 money lines, which feel like a really good, unless it's just Michigan State's day or something, I feel good about getting into Sunday here with a minus 105 top 10 on Ryan Blaney. I've done it the past 2 weeks with William Byron. I did 2 weeks ago again with Denny Hamlin, and it has not failed me yet. So I'm going to continue to do this. And I think you could also do, I've been looking at ways. Can I do this with Hamlin? Can I do this with Larson? Can I do this with Byron? I think it's all the same, but Blaney's my favorite. So as long as no major upsets happen here, whether it's in NASCAR or college football, I'm fucking rolling, baby. Sig Signetti, Ryan Blaney, and Kirby Smart and the boys. Let's go here, Elliot.
Yeah, I mean, I can't give any opinion on college football bets, but as you mentioned with F1, I do like the idea of parlaying stuff because, I mean, I have the Denny Hamlin top 5 bet at minus 130, which I think is a decent number. But anytime you want to drink that juice, you may as well, if you stack up the glasses a Minute Maid and they all work out, then you turn that juice into a big, I don't know what the metaphor is, juice compared to a big plus money bet, but you get what I'm saying.
The only thing I will say with this is I would be very, very cautious parlaying with NFL money lines because that shit can, like NFL money line. I mean, college football can too. F1 can as well. Like, let's not fool ourselves. Like, this is still sports betting. We're parlaying multiple legs here of different outcomes for different sports, but never had luck ever parlaying NFL money line. So that was my only word of caution. Don't get fucking crazy here. We're drinking some juice, but this is a way to drink a little bit of nice juice. So I just, for placement props, I have that Ryan Blaney parlay. I also have that Kyle Larson top 5 minus 120 at Bet365. I think is a great number. I've seen him all the way down minus 160 other places for that top 5. So I like those two. And I also have a long shot, but I'll give you the floor for any of their placement props you might have.
Yeah, I'll throw out a couple and then toss back because I've got a few we can talk about too. With Hamlin at minus 130, he's finished in the top 5 more than half of his Martinsville races.
And he would have in the fucking spring if Chris Gabehart wasn't out thinking the fucking room.
Yeah, would have been the spring. He's led laps here at least 36 laps in 7 of the last 8 and 100 plus laps in half of those 8 races. So he's going to run up front. He's another guy that's probably a must win. You're going to know Denny Hamlin was there. The big plus monies that I like, I got another one too, but I'm big on Stewart-Haas Racing this week, big time, because we've seen their pedigree at the short tracks, especially at Martinsville. You said Almirola damn near winning the race last year. The 14, the 4, and the 41, and I'm sure the 10 too, but they're the 3 that I'm on. All plus money for top 10s this week. For Briscoe, plus 120 over at Caesars. In the next gen, 9th, 5th, 4th, 10th. Those are all top 10s to me. Has run pretty well. Even the, was it fall of 22? He was in the round, one of them, he was in the round of 8 or near the round of 8 or something, and he could have won his way into the championship 4. Yeah. So he's a guy that you can definitely reckon with. Josh Berry doesn't have really the cup results here, but has that Xfinity win here, as well as some top 5s last year. He was good.
He was another 10 guy, asterisk mark result in the spring. Yep. He had a fast car that day.
Right. And then Ryan Preece at 3-1, 15th, and he led in fall 23. He led 135 laps, which that surprised me. I didn't really remember that. 9th in the spring, and as of late, he's had some good runs too. Finished 7th at Bristol and a P10 last week at Homestead. I don't think you're going to hear too much about SHR out at Phoenix. I think this is the week where you send out SHR. You have all the good memories and stuff like that. And at least one, if not multiple of these guys, going to have some good runs, probably going to lead some laps, and you're going to see at least one of those top 10s cash.
For Tony and Gene, baby. Thank you guys for your service.
He's sticking around, but Tony and Harvick and Darian Grubb and all those guys, the old days of SHR.
The old dissenters. We appreciate y'all.
Having a bush for Clint Boyer.
Yeah, there we go. I do have another placement, but I want to stay with SHR, and it's my one matchup of the week. And I know you have no really matchups for Cup Series, so a matchup here if you want to get more invested with Briscoe. For me, I think he could finish top 10. He's done it every Martinsville race here in the next gen era. He's been excellent. But for me, I'm going to go Chase Briscoe minus 143 at Bet Rivers versus old Brad Keselowski and that RFK number 6 car. 4 units down, Elliot. I think it's one of the most lopsided matchups I've seen all year in every series. That's 100-some races. We're 100-some races in across all 3 series now. And I think it's one of my favorite matchups of the year. Martinsville averages in the next gen series. Briscoe, just to your point, he's average finish of 7.4, 5 for 5, top 10. Brad Keselowski's average finish, 26.8, nearly a 20 spot difference, 0 top 10s. Briscoe, 5-0 against Brad in this span. Briscoe, 5th in the spring total speed rankings to Brad's 23rd. At the comps, what have they done for us this season? In the All-Star race, Brad started in 2nd, fell all the way back to 16th. Briscoe didn't qualify. He had to start towards the back of the open, wasn't able to get, there was no passing in the open. So I'm not going to hold that against him. At the Clash, Briscoe started towards the back again, transferred his way in, finished 7th. Brad finished 8th in that race. But if you remember, Chris Buescher didn't even qualify. They looked slow, RFK, in that race. Here's the real kicker, though. New Hampshire, Brad Keselowski, 28th. Chase Briscoe, second, dude. And probably should have been a third.
Should have been third. Ruined my fucking exacta parlay. Thanks, Chase. But
yes. So just in general, like, Ellie, I know it's minus 143 and it's on Chase Briscoe, a guy you wouldn't think that would be someone you're betting minus 143, but this is a huge lopsided matchup. This is Briscoe's second or third best track, you could argue, probably. I mean, Darlington, he's won there. He's won at Phoenix. So those are probably his best too. But this is right there with it, right? And I'm willing to pay a little more juice that I don't know if he'll finish top 10, but I think he'll finish 7th to 13th. And I think Brad will probably be 18th to 25th.
Yeah, I was kind of sniffing around ways to put Keselowski on my card. It might have been in a group or something like that. And his stats with the RFK here have just been hot dog shit, just absolute dog water.
Because he wasn't bad back in his Penske days, right? And I think that's
what you look at the Penske stats, like first, second, fourth, 10th. You look at RFK, 23rd, 38th, 35th, just absolute dog water there for Keselowski. And the short track program everywhere but Bristol is still kind of not great, as you've alluded to, for RFK.
Yeah, absolutely. Didi with the $20 super chat. Woo! Let's go, Didi.
Much appreciated.
I appreciate that. Saying no costume this year, Seth. I loved your costume last year. Yeah, last year we touched on this earlier in the show, Didi, but went to the the Halloween party as a NASCAR fan this year. So I'm kind of in costume. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I was a little lazy with it this year. I think like maybe in 10 years, Elliot, if you and I ever have kids, like we'll get real back into it. That's when I think you get real back into it, right? And I work from home. I don't have a lot of Halloween functions going on right now, so I'm gonna play it chill.
We knew we really didn't have any Halloween plans because this was our Halloween plan. So shout out to everybody rolling with us.
Yeah,
time out of your Halloween night.
It is Halloween night. I keep forgetting that. Yeah, happy Halloween, everybody.
31st,
Didi in the chat. Everybody else, let us know. Let us know what you guys are dressing up as, if anything.
I remember some good Halloween costumes as a kid. I got the Dale Jr. fire suit one year, one is Elvis one year, one is the Burger King mascot one year. You know, we threw down back in the day for Halloween.
I was a Power Ranger. I want to say maybe like 5 of the 6 years I can remember in elementary school. I love all different colors, green, black. I would switch it up, but yeah, I was always a Power Ranger. The one year I wasn't a Power Ranger, I was like a Stormtrooper. So like kind of similar vein in a sense. But Didi letting us know in the chat, celebrating a different win tonight. She closed on escrow tonight and moving to Idaho. Congratulations,
cheers
Didi.
to that.
Let's go. Absolutely. Cheers to you, Didi. Stan, cheers to you as well, saying I bet Briscoe and Wallace in a group with Reddick and Gibbs. I don't hate that.
Yeah, I don't hate that either. You see Reddick and Gibbs, and you're like, okay, championship 4 guy, good short track guy. Reddick's probably going to be out to lunch because they're worried about Phoenix. And we already talked about we don't like Ty Gibbs this week. So good move. And bringing up Bubba Wallace, that's my other placement prop. Bubba Wallace top 10 at plus 120 over at Caesars. Last 4 here, P8, P9, P11, P4. Booty Barker is moving off of that pit box, arguably the most entertaining man in NASCAR. Send him off well with a good finish because I don't know if they will Phoenix. He's going to stick around with 2311. Maybe ends up crew chiefing that 3rd car if it happens. Maybe crew chiefs MTJ in the Daytona 500. That might be the best Daytona 500 pairing.
Woo!
Booty and Moore Jr. would be entertaining.
I know. I need Cole. I need Cole back for that.
Parn, yeah, it'll be Parn. You're right, for sure. But Booty Barker, the most entertaining man in the garage for the whole time I've been watching NASCAR. It's been a good couple of years for him getting a win for Bubba Wallace. A couple of wins on that 23 and the 45 with him. Send him off with a good top 10 run, Bubba Wallace, plus 120 over on Caesars.
I don't hate that at all. Bubba is someone that I looked at, and his Martinsville stats are good. He unloaded super quick here in the spring as well. I would love like a Tyler Reddick versus Bubba matchup. What odds would you need to lay that?
Reddick versus Bubba. I mean, Reddick would probably be the favorite just on paper on that. So
and he shouldn't be. And he shouldn't
be. But you're going to take Bubba as the underdog. Maybe it would be like it may be more even than I think. Maybe one of those like where they're both at minus 114.
Yeah.
Or like maybe it'd be Reddick minus 125, Bubba even money But considering the Reddick would be the favorite, I'm taking the 23 against them all day.
Last placement prop from us here. I got a long one. We have drank a lot of juice tonight. I'm probably going to use the restroom. I don't even know if I'll make it through the end of the show because I've been drinking so much juice tonight and I don't care. Here's the long shot of the week, folks. Zane Smith, top 10, 19-1 at FanDuel. I went 0.3 of a unit on this. He's closer to 10-1 everywhere else, so I think 19-1 was a very fair deal from our friends over at FanDuel who finally realized today on Thursday, hey, we got a couple NASCAR races. We should probably put out some odds. They've been waiting all week. I touched on this earlier when we talked about Zane Smith. Average finish of 16.8 since Nashville. That's 16 races ago, 4 months. So he's been a top 20 car, top 17 car for 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
And he has not been good here in the Cup car. I'm not going to say he has been in his one start. He has not been good at the comps either this season. However, let's look at what he's done in the Truck Series here. Finishes of 2nd, 9th, 1st, and 3rd. And yeah, he's always been in a good, number 38 car down there as well. But at the same time, he's unloaded fast. He has pure speed here. Truck starts. He has started 1st, 9th, 2nd. He has scored stage points in 7 out of the 8 of those possible stages and led an average of 36 laps here. I just think you have to bet, like we're at the point, whether it's Hocevar or Zane or Haley, you have to start betting one of these guys to finish top 10 each week. And to me, Zane's the best value at 19-1. Hocevar is closer to a shade of like 7-1, 6-1. So give me 19-1 on Zane. It's probably not going to hit, but that's why we take him at 19-1, right? Like this is where we kind of were, we've been lucky on the long shots lately. We hit Ross recently. We hit Joey Logano on 16-1. We hit fucking Dawson Sutton a couple weeks ago in the truck. So yeah. So give me a little Zane here, top 10 action.
Yeah, I love that. I completely agree with Spire. Spire, they excite me now, which is, again, I've said it before, far cry from where they were before. All 3 of those cars excite me for the rest of this year and for next year. Obviously, Zane at that big a number, I like it. Hocevar I probably like better because you look at that Homestead race, most of at least the second half of that race, the guys who were running up front, you had the 7 Jims who weren't locked into the playoffs. You had Bowman, who would have been one of those guys if his team weren't a bunch of fucking morons, and you had Carson Hocevar running up there, top 10, like the whole second half of that race. Obviously, Justin Haley's a damn good driver. Zane Smith, a damn good driver. That team excites me for the rest of this year. Definitely slam some sort of top 10 on them. But at Phoenix, too, would not surprise me at all to see maybe even Zane and Hocevar run because you're going to see half the teams in vacation mode. Those guys are still going to be hungry. They're going to want to build up for next year where they're going to bring McDowell in place for Smith. I'm probably going to throw some Spire coin on the Daytona 500. I'll let you know right now, and definitely throwing coin on them the rest of the year.
Yeah, and it's like one of those things, dude, when you look at it, for me, like we know the top 6 of the top 10, right? It's the playoff guys minus Logano here and minus Reddick. Logano could still be a top 10 car, but Reddick's probably out of being a top 10 car. Logano hit or miss. And so you have...
They should just both run show cars next week. Like, who cares?
So you have 3 to 4 cars that could finish top 10 that you could get some value on. We think Briscoe could mix in there, one or two SHR guys. Bubba Wallace is probably in that mix. Bowman probably in that mix. But that still gives you 1 to 2 other spots for a long shot here. So yeah, it's Zane Smith for me this week. Pick who you want. It's Zaney for me. Had to throw
that value at a 19-1, no doubt about it. It's Zane Smith.
Yeah. Dee saying homely housewife hit her costume for tonight. Hey, I feel you. I feel you. And a $50 super chat. We definitely do not deserve this, but thank you, Dee. We appreciate it. We're going to be doing some Black Friday shopping here soon for some more giveaways for the IBT family. So this will go right back in the fun. Thank you so much, Dee.
Hey, we got another one that's going to be ready for you next week. We got a championship week giveaway as well. That'll be ready for you. So
yes.
Get in that. Like, comment, subscribe, everything. Just as Dee says right there, always thankful for her support. If you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, and share. And if you can donate, I mean, like you said, I feel we're very undeserving of it, but we certainly appreciate it because we do put it right back into our content, whether it's giveaway funds, whether it's at track trips, of which we're hoping to make at least 2 next year. All the new exciting stuff that we're working on here at In Between Media across the board. It really does mean so much to us. We couldn't be more thankful.
Yeah, thank you guys so much, man. It's all the sports crazy this year, and very, very blessed for this community we're building over here, and very, very thankful for it. So thank you all so much, and hey, congratulations to the Dodgers and all the Dodgers fans out there. And hey, we're Pirates fans, Elliot, so maybe one day we'll feel that same excitement, right?
God, wouldn't that be nice? Paul Skeens, man. Paul Skeens. That's our only hope. Got 4 more years of him before he goes to the Dodgers. So
Yeah,
this isn't a
yeah,
baseball show. I don't have any more Cup bets. Do you have anything else for Cup?
No, I think we're good for the Xfinity. How? Hey.
Cool. Yeah, there are 2 outrights I really like here. We've run long on time, so I'll just throw them out. Sheldon Creed. Wouldn't it be funny if he finally gets it done, gets his revenge from last year? He's at 8-1. He's had 2 runner-up finishes here and was 6th in the spring. We know JGR is dominant here. Almirola is the favorite this week, 3-1. I don't like that bet, but JGR is top-notch here. For a guy like Creed, send off the Gibbs deal, which he apparently made no money on this year. Finally get to victory lane in Xfinity and roll off to Haas. And the other guy
How did he win? How did he make no money on that?
That's what he said at Darlington, I think, when he came so close. He said
Yeah.
that he didn't take a personal salary this year. He threw all of his funding into the team, into getting that car, which of course it gives him an opportunity with Haas, where I'm
That's
sure
cool.
hopefully he is making a salary. Good luck to him in the future there as he
Yeah, you
moves
gotta
on.
feed your family, Sheldon.
Yeah, but like it's not that he's making no money. It's just I don't know how they work it out.
Yeah.
And the other guy I like is the other guy I threw a title bet on. Sammy Smith is at plus 750. Obviously, he needs to win. I think he might even be 100 points back on the leader at this point. He's going to need to win. But last fall, he led 147 laps in that same 18 car that Creed is driving. In his last 3 races here, P2, P3, and P7 has led at least 1 lap in all 4 of his Xfinity starts here. And my Xfinity title bet sprinkle on him. Obviously, he would have to win the next 2 weeks, but plus 7,500 if he can do it.
Wow. Yeah, I was trying to fade Sammy Smith, and I looked at his Martinsville run. Like, this is a place you don't fade Sammy Smith. Yeah, he's good.
JRM is going to have all their back. Like, obviously, all guys in a good point spot. He's good enough at Martinsville. They don't really. I'm sure they're gonna care more about the guy they have, Sammy Smith, than the guys they don't have next year, Brandon Jones and Sam Mayer.
Yeah, for me in the Xfinity series, I got one driver I'm betting on 2 different ways. Give me Eric Almirola plus 330 on the outright at DraftKings, a unit down. And then top 3 as well, minus 110 at DraftKings. I'm 3 units down on that. I'm gonna copy and paste exactly what I said from the spring. He nearly won Martinsville last fall in the Cup Series. Recent Martinsville Cup Series finishes include 2nd, 6th, 15th, 8th, 6th. He went on to win that race that I called him out in the spring. We hit that. That was one of my heaviest Xfinity wins to date. And now
has a Cup win at New Hampshire, which is a comp track.
Yeah, exactly. And like now he also has another Xfinity win under his belt, and he's been a top 5 machine. He's finished top 5 in 50% of his Cup Series starts. So give me him at his best track. He's got momentum. He finishing your 3rd last week coming in at Homestead, which was not a good track for him in the Cup Series. So yeah, a little Almy here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the little parlay there, the extra bets, but damn, that's just a juicy number on Almirola. When you have guys who need to win to go make the championship 4, they're going to not hesitate to punt Almirola if they get the chance, I feel like. But those JGR cars might be so damn fast, you might not be able to get to them.
Agreed. Anything for the Truck Series? I currently have nothing. I'll be honest. If you have time tomorrow and you can wait it out, I would wait to see the flop and see what happens here in qualifying. I think I want to bet Lane Riggs. I want to bet Christian Eckes, but there's no way to bet them because they're head-to-head against each other in all the matchups, and they're like minus 190 for a top 5, and you can't really bet Lane Riggs for a top 3 at this point. So I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm bummed out. This was kind of like the most juiciest Truck Series odds I've seen in a while that wasn't for a guy named Corey Heim,
Yeah. I don't love any of the truck bets either. If you're going to go, I'd go for a little bit of value. Grant Enfinger's 10-1. Why not have him sweep the round? They've continued to impress. He has a win here in the fall of 2020, 5 career top 10s at Martinsville. And another guy, I've mentioned guys who need to win to get in both other series. Taylor Gray, 20-1 to win or plus 320 for a top 5. He's been 8th twice as well as 6th in 3 of the last 4 races here that he's run in the Truck Series. I'm not super confident in either of those bets, but he's a guy that, we've seen guys before in all these series. They have to win Martinsville to make it, and they go and fucking win Martinsville despite what they've done there in the past. A guy like Taylor Gray moving up full-time to Xfinity. Why not ride it out and give it all you can in the Truck Series and make it to that championship 4 in an upset?
Yeah, I like that call, man. Taylor Gray's been someone we're waiting for the breakthrough, right? We're waiting for, and maybe it comes next year when he's in that Ty Gibbs owned car for JGR next year, but Yeah, I don't hate the call there by any means, and I didn't realize the stats were that good here, so that's impressive. Good on
Yep.
him.
With that being said, over under half a win next year for Taylor Gray Xfinity. I think I'm taking the under.
Under.
But that's another
Under.
conversation.
Yeah. Let's go ahead, Elliot. I'm gonna hit this drop. We're gonna pull up the tiers for some NASCAR DFS rankings for this week. But let's go ahead and shift gears here in a little tire tiers. What do you say?
Let's get rolling. All right, you got your typical 36 chartered cars as well as the 66, which I think has Chad Fincham this week. I know they announced the deal where it's Fincham one week and then somebody else another week.
I think it's Balicki. I think it's Balicki this week, actually.
Balicki this week, Fincham next week. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I see no reason we can't breeze through most of these. I feel like it's the 3 Hendrick guys who are still alive, as well as the 11 and the 12 in your ace. Your prices, Larson's all the way up at 11.5, Hamlin 11.3, Blaney at 11, Byron 10.8, Chase 10.5. Bell 10.3. They're your 6 most expensive, but I don't know if I really see any wiggle room to put anybody else in this A tier, even at the bloated salaries.
No, I think I'm right there in lockstep with you, man. And I would say, Blaney's the 101 to me because you're getting a little bit of relief at 11. Kyle Larson would be second for me because look at a guy who can go out and dominate fucking races and put up 100+ points. It's Kyle Larson. It's been a couple of weeks, but let's not forget at the Roval, 81 points. At Bristol, 198 points. I mean, this guy, you know, Cookout Southern 500, 124 points. I mean, this guy can lead some fucking laps. He can get some fastest laps. So I'm with you there. I guess I'll leave it to you to sort out the other 3 here in the top. Like Chase would probably be my lead. Do you like Chase because the price
I'm just kind of
or?
seeing how they look up here. Maybe probably 11 in between. Maybe if Chase hadn't shown like race winning speed last week, I might put him in the race. But I think I'll probably go.
Yeah,
I don't know. You can put him either way, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool with that. I think you're 100% spot on there. I don't think we have to. You know, we've talked a shit ton about these guys all night. What about for the B's though? Let's shift down.
Probably Bell leading the B's just because I don't like him as much, but he's got just as much of a bloated salary. I think he's probably B tier.
And I hate that you have to pay up for him this week. Like DraftKings is kind of caught on, but Chase Briscoe, we just touched on him. You're betting him for a top 10. I'm betting him against Keselowski, 8,500. Like that's going to be probably the most chalky 2 driver. But if you're paying up for Larson or Blaney or trying to fit both in your salary, it's Briscoe and then you're throwing dart throws. Like let's be honest, that's probably what you're fucking doing here. So give me a little Briscoe action. Who else do you like? Do you like any of these other SHR guys? Barry 7,300 I don't think is terrible. I think that's a stomachable number.
I can roll with that. I think Barry up there. I think Priest probably in the C's, maybe Gregson a D. I don't think he has a Martinsville pedigree, but I think they're all worthy of being mid to high tier on the board.
Yeah, Ryan Priest, tough, like more expensive than usual, 6,900, but I mean, he's still got to be right up there. Like, I mean, who else do you trust for a top 10, right?
Right. Probably your Spire guys in the C2. I don't mean to jump ahead of you. You're more than welcome to slow me down at any point.
No.
But there's just some obvious picks here. Harsevar below those 2 SHR guys at 67 and Zane all the way down at 58. I think they're guys that are definitely good in the mid-C. Chastain's a little bloated this week at 83, but I almost think he might be worthy of a B.
Yeah, Ross has had, maybe a high C. Like,
yeah, that's fine.
The finishes for Ross, like, listen, I was trying to find a way to get Ross on my card this weekend, but the finishes recently at Martinsville just haven't been there, man. 14th, 13th. And like, to me, the big thing about Ross is like, they just completely missed the setup last week. I mean, he was running back in like the late 20s, early 30s. It was one of the worst races I've ever seen Ross run in Trackhouse equipment. So I don't know.
Yeah. Bubba Wallace.
Bubba Wallace is someone you definitely, we touched on him earlier. He's been bad fast here, 7,800. That's a great price tag for Bubba.
I think he's probably worthy of a B. Ty Gibbs, high C, probably.
I would rather play all those other Spire guys over him. I think he's going to be someone, he's going to unload fast. Don't think he can manage tire wear. And look, dude, his point totals recently, I know he's had some bad finishes. He's had some bad luck and wrecked out, but negative 14 points last week. 2 points the week before, -12, and those were tracks he should have all been fucking good at. So honestly,
Yeah.
I don't even know if I don't even know if I think that's generous, but he is good at Martinsville, so I guess or should be good. But
Yeah,
Suarez,
I'm okay with driving that.
throw Suarez in the D's, just like off of recent form. He's not good at Martinsville by any means, but
Yeah.
outside of the Roval where he had some bad luck, 34 points, 76 points, 23, 27, 14, 26. So Suarez has been real solid. I think we got to find a way to get Bowman on the board, right?
Yeah, I was going to say Bowman probably mid C, if not late C. Reddick might even be worth a C. He is 9,000, maybe low C, high D.
Yeah, I'd throw him in a D, almost right above Ty Gibbs. Maybe I just don't.
Yeah.
It's a high price to pay.
They've already clinched. It's a high price. He's not super good at Martinsville. I'm okay with that. I think 2 veterans here, and you can again give opinions on anybody whenever you want. I think the 6 and the 19 are Fs this week. I don't see any upside for Brad. And for Truex, again, with the Martinsville pedigree, I wanted to find something. All the races pre-next gen, you see wins, you see lap sled, you see good finishes. In the next gen, I don't even know that he had a top 10 because I wanted to put him on my card somewhere. Still mourning the death of my over 2.5 wins bet from pre-Daytona for Truex. That was a terrible mistake, but I just don't see any upside here either. I think he'd rather be on a boat in New Jersey than in Martinsville, Virginia this weekend.
And Elliot, I've talked a lot of shit on you all year for continuing to bet him, and I fucking bet him last week, and he let me down. So, yeah, I finally, that was like
I step away for 1 week, and you pick up that Truex train again.
I heel turned it. Someone had to, right? I'm with you there. Kyle Busch, throw him in an Fs too. Like,
not really any upside. 8,100. RCR
dude,
short stack has been dookie.
I don't mean to be that guy. I think something weird was going on. I don't know. Allegedly something weird was going on. I mean, they had all that speed right after the Olympic break, and then it's just gone all downhill. I mean, finishes of 31st, 13th, 13th, 19th, 19th, 25th, 30th. And before that, he had that month stretch, Elliot, where he was 4th, he was 2nd, he was 2nd, he was 7th. Like, he had a chance to win multiple races, and then it's gone all downhill again. So, miss me on that completely. I don't know if I trust Chris Buescher this week either. I think Chris Buescher's overinflated for 7,500. Like, no way I'm paying that for him. I'm paying 6,900 for Ryan Preece before him. I'm paying 67 for Todd. Yeah, throw Logano up there.
Logano probably D. He's not a guy I'm betting, but at 9,800 it's such a high price.
Yeah,
but he's run well here before. He's had a win here. He's had a chance at multiple wins. Matt Kenseth took one of those away from him back in 2015, as we all remember. Same as the 45. There's just not the upside's not here.
Yeah, I'm with you there. What about a little Danny Hemme for the No, never. I don't know, man. He's been so dog shit lately, but I don't know. He's a tough one.
Haley maybe in the D's here, like mid D's, because we were talking about Spire, or do you think he's even worthy of a C here?
Throw him ahead of Gibbs but I want to. Yeah, I think that's perfect place for him.
Yeah, I think he's still kind of finding his footing at Spire. Had that great qualifying run and then spun it in the first corner last week. So,
yeah, man. I mean, this is.
Wow. I think we've pretty much played it out here. Unless you got any opinions on anyone else.
Ricky Jimhouse, I think, should be on the board.
He's dirt cheap this week for 6,000.
Yeah, he has one top 10 here in the next gen era. Finished 8th here 2 springs ago, so I think he could be a little dangerous. Austin Dillon, I don't expect him to do much, but does have 2 top 12 finishes here in the next gen, including a P3 back in April of 2022. And again, I think they're cheaters, and I don't sorry about it. I think he's a cheater, but regardless, also. I think, can Eric Jones be ranked? He was kind of fast here earlier this season. You look at what he's done, finished 12th here earlier this year, started 17th. I think if he has a bad qualifying day, I'm trying to find a way to get Eric Jones into my lineup for 6,100,
Yeah, I don't hate that either. I think the only other guy I'm considering putting on the board is Cindric. And past that, I don't think we have anything that's worth much.
No, yeah.
That's it. Driver change wise, the 15 is Gralla, the 16 is SVG, 66. Well, I already forgot. Balicki.
Balicki, come on. Josh Balicki's actually like
But Balicki's decent, but he's not Martinsville decent, and he's not in the 66 decent. This car being within 10 laps of the leader would be a shock to me.
yes, but here's my thing. Josh Balicki, his starting positions this season, Elliot, in the Cup Series, started 39th, 37th, 38th, and he's finished 28th, 34th, 30th. So there's going to be some differential points on the board. Throw him on the board, Josh Balicki, baby.
I agree, because that's a really good point. As long as if this car can stay on track for all 500 laps, it doesn't matter if he's 15 laps down. If he survives the attrition, there'll be at least one driver to have some mechanical issue that knocks him out. There'll probably be at least one crash that knocks out a couple of guys or knocks a couple of guys back. That is a good point, that at the dirt cheap 5,000 on the board, if you're wanting to stack your lineup, if you're wanting to play Blaney and Larson and Briscoe and a high price, Bubba Wallace a higher price, or a Chastain, this is not the worst you can do at the bottom of your lineup. If the car survives, which I have serious doubts about, that's just where that program is. It's not an insult. I love seeing him out there. Timmy Hill was the man a few years ago. If this car can stay on track all day, you can definitely gain 5, 6, 7 positions from there at the rear starting spot.
Also, if he does qualify kind of dookie, Todd Gilliland needs to be on the board. I would put him above everyone but Stenhouse in this tier, actually, Elliot. I like looking what he's done here. It's been hit or miss, but he has a P13. He has a P10. He has another P13.
He had a really good run in the middle of the year. I think he went from Dover when he crashed out through, like, it must have been getting close to like Michigan Olympic break time, that he was top 15, top 20 like every week.
I absolutely agree with you. I'm good on everyone else, so I just thought Todd deserved a little bit of love. Miss me on McDowell. He's going to wreck people.
McDowell is already out the door. His team has gotten no setup info for the last 3 months. From that. We already talked about LaJoy. JHN is going to be out. Harrison's to the 15 next year. We tried to get Hemrick. It didn't work. SVG is going to look out to lunch, and Kaz Gralla. Gralla, you may be able to pull the same card as Balicki, but I just don't know.
Yeah. So guys, those are our NASCAR DFS tiers for the week. I want to thank everyone for riding with us, not just here to this Thursday, but every single Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. We usually go about 90 to 100 minutes, and it's so much fun. And I appreciate everyone weighing in. If you haven't weighed in yet, let us know in the comments below. Who are you playing in DFS? Who are you betting on this weekend? We want to hear from you. We're going to have a survey hopefully ready for you next week that get some more feedback. What parts of the show do you guys like? What parts of the show do you not like? And what are you trying to get more of? How can we help you better here? And as Elliot said, we're also going to be running a giveaway next weekend. So comment below right now. If you haven't already commented here, we'll get you into our list of giveaway potential winners out there. So we want to make sure everyone's involved with that, Elliot.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Do we want to do a little preview, or do we want to save it for next week?
Yeah. What do you got? I don't even know.
In terms of that, so just some more stuff from the collection here. The big ticket item, a Mystery 124. Again, we gave that away a few months ago. Mystery 124 scale diecast. That's what a lot of people have. But I've also got a few 164s. We've got a Kevin Harvick, Bush to the Moon 164th, if you remember that. One of those like millennial schemes from a few years ago. A couple of NASCAR Authentics as well. Brad Keselowski 2022, the Castrol all-white throwback.
Yeah,
that's 88 car. Daniel Suarez, Freeway Insurance, Pitbull Trackhouse car. Got the little Pitbull right there.
Yeah.
Joey Logano locked in the championship for his 5G Verizon 164th as well. Some NASCAR Authentics from the collection here. Couple of trinkets, couple of other things in the Mystery 124th diecast.
How many diecasts is that? Like 5, 4, 5?
Yeah, so that's 5, and then a couple of trinkets in here as well. So
all right, so 5. We got a pack of 5 diecasts from Elliot's collection. Appreciate that, man, and also some mystery gifts in there too. So yeah, fucking let us know in the comments below. Drop your username on YouTube if you're watching the pre-record version. Just make sure you drop us a comment below so we can get you in this giveaway. And as we said, a shit ton of plans for the off season for y'all. We're already kind of brainstorming, working on those, but we got 2 more races here, Elliot. Let's make the most of it, my friend.
Yeah, there's money to be made, and like Seth said, we want to hear from you guys. We're working on what's going to be for the off season and for next season, and your opinion definitely matters. We certainly appreciate you guys sticking with us on the back road. Of course, follow us there on Twitter. Follow everything we got going on the site. You mentioned it, Seth. Football season, golf season, NASCAR season wrapping up, and then some entertainment stuff as well. Anything left you want to plug on the site before we head home?
No, man. Just shout out to you, Elliot, for leading this NASCAR initiative over here at IBT Media, and Tino, Rod, Andrew, everyone we have on staff over here. We greatly appreciate everyone, and appreciate the IBT family. Let's hit some fucking dingers this weekend. Let's get some wins, boys and gals. Let's have a big one here.
We're almost done. We got 2 weekends left. Soak it up, and salute to you all for rolling down the back road with us. Best of luck with your bets at the Paperclip. We'll see you next week for the championship show, baby.
Woo!